Alright, so to continue on with the top 200 drugs, numbers 101 through 200, I have my little buddy bear to help me. So let's see how long his attention span will hold out. Alright, moving on with drug number 101, we have Spiriva, which is tiotropium generic, and the function is an anticholinergic. And then we have Latensin, which is dimazepril. It's an ACE inhibitor. And we have Lamictal, which is lamotrigine. It's an anticonvulsant. And Benicar, HC2, and generic of that is olmesartan plus hydrochlorothiazide. It's an A2RB diuretic. Then we have Aricept, generic is donepezil, and it's a cholinesterase inhibitor. And then we have Risperidone, which is risperidone. It's an antipsychotic. Then there's Glucotrol, which is glucagon, and it's an anti-diabetic. And then there is Adderall. It's an amphetamine and dextroamphetamine. It's a stimulant used to treat ADHD, and it's a DEA Schedule 2. Then there is Abilify, which is aripiprazole. It's an antipsychotic. And then there's Verilin. Generic is verapamil. It's a calcium channel blocker. Cleocin, which is clindamycin, is an antimicrobial. And Flagyl, generic metronidazole, is also an antimicrobial. Then we have orthotricycline. It's an ethinyl estradiol with norgestimate, and it's used for birth control. And Cialis, generic of that is tadalafil, and it's used to treat erectile dysfunction. Adipex, generic is phentermine, and it's an appetite suppressant, and it is a DEA Schedule 4. And then there is Levoxel. Generic of that is levothyroxine. It's used for hormone replacement, thyroid. Vistaril, which is hydroxyzine, is an antihistamine, H1. Cataflam, generic is diclofenac. It's an NSAID. And then Reglan, generic is metoclopramide. It is a GI motility stimulant. Lopid is gemfibrozil. It's a cholesterol lowering drug. And then Cardizin, generic is diltiazem. It's a calcium channel blocker. Depakote is divalproate. It's an anticonvulsant. Furadantin is nitrofurantoin. It's an antimicrobial. And then there is Remeron. Generic of that is mirtazapine. It's an antidepressant. Zalatan, generic is lactanopause ophthalmic. It's a prostaglandin. Januvia, generic is sitagliptin. It's an anti-diabetic. Zobarax is a cyclovir. It's an antiviral. Cardura is doxazosin. It's an alpha receptor agonist. Lunesta is hexapiclum, the sleep aid, DEA Schedule 4. Niacin, the generic of that is niacin. And it is used for cholesterol. Inderal, generic is propranolol, and that is a beta receptor blocker B1. Hyzar, generic is losartan with hydrochlorothiazide. It's an A2RB diuretic. Suboxone, generic is buprenorphine. It's an opioid recovery DEA Schedule 3. You want to do that? There we go. All right, and our health is going to bed now. And let's see, we got Suboxone, there's Budeprion, Bupropion, antidepressant. Okay, moving on. Robitussin is guaifenesin, and it's a cold syrup. Topamax is topiramate, it's an anticonvulsant. Buspar is buspirone, it's an anxiolytic / hypnotic. Antivert is meclizine, and it's anti-vertigo. Detrol is tolterodine, and it's for urinary antispasmodic. Vyvanse is lisdexamfetamine, and it's ADHD Schedule 2. Accupril is quinapril, it's an ACE inhibitor. Actifex is rabeprazole, the proton pump inhibitor. Then there's Bactroban, which is mupirocin, it's a topical antibacterial. Then Rheumatrex is methotrexate, and it's an anti-rheumatic. Glycolax is polyethylene glycol, it's a laxative. Duragesic is fentanyl transdermal patch. It's used for pain relief, and it's DEA Schedule 2. Teflon pearls are benzonatate, and they are for cough suppressant. Avapro is irbesartan, and it's an A2RB. Combivent is albuterol with aprotropium inhaler, and that is a bronchodilator. Then Boniva is ibandronate. It's a biphosphonate for bone loss. Then Methadose is methadone, and it's an opioid dipian. It's a DEA Schedule 2. Lotrizone is clotrimazole and betamethasone. It's an antifungal and steroid. Imitrex is sumatriptan. It's a serotonin agonist. And then Procardia is methadone, and it's a calcium channel blocker. Pepcid is famotidine. It's a histamine blocker, H2. Fioricet is butalpitol with acetaminophen and caffeine, used to treat headache. Proscar is finasteride. It's an enzyme inhibitor for prostate. Thiazole is ferrous sulfate, and it's for iron deficiency. Hytrint is terazosin. It's an alpha receptor agonist. Lavazza is omega-3 fish oil. Cholesterol. Xanaflex is tizanidine, and that is used to treat multiple sclerosis. Actonel is risedronate, and it's for bone resorption inhibitor. Namenda is is the brand name. Generic of that is Memantine. It's an anti-Alzheimer. So Namenda is used to treat Alzheimer's. Novolog is insulin aspart, and it's insulin for type 1 diabetes. Robaxin is methocarbamol. It's a muscle relaxer. And then Timavate is clobetasol, and it's a corticosteroid. Zabeta is bisoprolol. It's a beta blocker. Nitrostat is nitroglycerin, and it's a vasodilator. Chantix, generic of that, is varenicline. It's used for smoking cessation. Avista is raloxifene, and it's an estrogen modulator. Pyridex is chlorhexidine gluconate, and it's an antimicrobial oral rinse. Zyprexa is olanzapine, and it's an antipsychotic. Zofran, generic of that, is ondansetron, and it's used for anti-nausea. Recrit, the generic is ropinirole, and it's used to treat Parkinson's. Bentyl is dicyclomine, and it's an antispasmodic. Humalog is insulin lispro, and it's insulin for type 1 diabetes. Relafin is nabumetone, and it's an NSAID. Avalide is irbesartan with hydrochlorothiazide, and it's an A2RB plus diuretic. Biaxin is clarithromycin, and it's a macrolide antibiotic. Lidoderm is lidocaine patch, the topical anesthetic. Avodart, the generic of that, is dutasteride, and it is used for the prostate. Dilantin, generic, is phenytoin, and it's an anticonvulsant. Colchicine, and its generic is also called colchicine, for anti-gout. Vigamox, generic, is moxifloxacin. It's an antibiotic when alone. Lioresal is baclofen, and it's a muscle relaxer. Plaquenil, generic, is hydroxychloroquine. It's used for arthritis and lupus. Tussinex, generic, is chlorpheniramine plus hydrocodone. It's a narcotic plus antihistamine, and it's a Schedule 3. Pyridium is phenazopyridine, and it's an analgesic for urinary. Strattera, generic, is atomoxetine, and it's a norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, and that's for ADHD. Strattera. Okay. Levitra, generic, is vardenafil, and it's for erectile dysfunction. Nizoral, the generic, is ketoconazole, and it's an antifungal. Panalor is nortriptyline. It's an antidepressant. Benzotropine, generic, also is benzotropine, and it's for Parkinson's. Minosin, generic, is minocycline, and it's an antibiotic. Avelox, generic, is moxifloxacin. It's an antibiotic when alone. Protonix, generic, is pantoprazole. It's a proton pump inhibitor. Ceftin, generic, is cefuroxime acetyl. It's an antibiotic. And ditropan, generic, is oxybutynin. It's for overactive bladder. Keppra, generic, is levetiracetam, and it's an anticonvulsant. And last is aposolane, generic, is hydralazine, and it's an antihypertensive. And that information is courtesy of pharmacytechstudy.com. And that concludes the top 101 through 200 drugs.